Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Uh, we're going to talk right now about the pagan roots of this Christmas holiday. But you know what? I'm going to let this historian talk about it because he's going to give you the real deal on this, all right? And thanks again to all my loyal subscribers.
Hello, family. It's good to see you all again. We want to go right into it today. We're going to talk about the what's called the Sanelina holiday in pagan Rome. That's a Latin term, which is where we get the December 25th holiday from. So, firstly, we need to understand because a lot of people say that Jesus is the reason for the season. But of course, we know that's not true. Um, the fact of the matter is, this pagan holiday predates, well, again, we went over that a few episodes back. The letter J wasn't invented to 1634, so his name wasn't Jesus. It was no letter J, so that's not possible. But anyway, Christ, we'll just say Christ for right now. His real name was Yahweh Shai in the Paleo-Hebrew. But we'll say Christ for to keep it simple for our listening audience for now. He can't be the reason for the season because this pagan tradition started with ancient Egypt, which was, of course, the ancient name of Egypt was Kemet. And then when Alexander Not So Great came, he changed it to to Egyptos, which is Egypt today, a Latin name which means bondage. So anyway, that pagan holiday was, if you go to the Bible, Jeremiah 10, verse 1, it'll explain all of why you shouldn't have a Christmas tree. The roots of that goes back to December 25th, when Isis' sun, which they worshipped as the sun god, and also in ancient Babylon, it was the birthday of Nimrod. Now, Nimrod, if you go to, Genesis 10, verse 8, they'll prove to you in biblical text that Nimrod was a Cushite. Cushites are Ethiopians. Ethiopians ruled all of that land from the Red Sea all the way to India. There were no Arabs at the time. Let's be clear on that. There were no Arabs in that land doing anything at the time. So when they say the first civilization was in Mesopotamia, they're talking about Ethiopians. Let's just be clear on that. So anyway, what they would do, in that day, they used palm trees. They would cut down palm trees, decorate them with lights, bring them into their homes. It tells you in Jeremiah 10:1 through 10:5 that you should not cut down trees and bring them into your homes. This is against Bible text or biblical text. What that is it's a pagan tradition, and I'm going to give you some text for your documentation. We use the Encyclopedia of Catholicism because they were the ones who first designated December 25th as Christ's birthday. That's why we're using that. We're not subscribing to Catholicism. We're against it. But for reasons of research, I give you that as your text. Now, the date of his birth, according to them, was not known at that time. So what they did, they used in 274 Emperor Alienus. He's the one who designated that as the Saturnalia holiday, which is also around the winter solstice. They were celebrating the last great harvest of the year before the winter months set in Italy, which is subtropical, just like here in Los Angeles is similar weather. And what happened was, in the 4th century, the Catholic Church decided to designate that as Christ's birthday, even though they didn't know when Christ's birthday was. Of course, if you read Luke in the New Testament, it clearly defines his birthday as around Passover, which is in April in the springtime. So this was just something they used. They picked a pagan holiday to do it, and this is what's important. So on this pagan holiday, what they did in the 4th century, they said this is going to be the birthday of Christ. Now what they did back in ancient Babylon and Egypt, They would take these trees, they would fasten them on some kind of foundation in their homes, they would put lights on them and so forth. Now, what we find from the book, The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop, he documented that these are indeed pagan traditions. And the tree, the Hewlett log, as they call it, even the Anglo and the Celts in England and Ireland called it that as well, and we still say Yule tidings and all that of the season. That is proof that it went back to a pagan origin. Nimrod, the tree represents Nimrod. Nimrod was emperor of Babylon. He was also a false god that they worshipped in ancient Babylon as a god. And what he did, the tree represented him himself. And when you put the star on the top of the tree, that's crowning Nimrod. When you go to get the presents from underneath the tree, you're bowing down to Nimrod, the pagan god. This was the custom back then, and you're upholding these traditions today. And they would get the presents and so forth, bow down to the tree. Now, the other thing about it was, there was another pagan god called Tammuz, which you can find in Ezekiel, I believe is the 8th chapter, 14th verse of the Old Testament. And Tammuz is what they made, one of the branches from that tree. He represents the mistletoe, what people kiss underneath. This is from the god Tammuz, another false pagan god. You have to understand everything has an origin. The lights on your Christmas tree, those represented the lights that they lit Nimrod's altar with. So these are all going back to pagan traditions. In England, they used to light the candles on what they call Christmas Eve, and then they would keep them lit throughout that holiday. Same thing, that comes from Nimrod. They would light them on the eve of his birthday, and it would last throughout that celebration for so many days. These all have a pagan root, and we don't want to deal with that. This is not holy, it's not biblical, it's not of the Most High. This is pagan ideology, and it's just like you shouldn't worship your birthday either. This is all idolatry. It all speaks about this in the biblical text, which is supposed to be the authoritative text for what you all use in terms of what you believe in. So anyway, these are the things that happen, and when they designated Christianity, the Roman government became Christian, changed their name from the Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire, set up the Catholic Church. That predates all Protestant religions. So we're not saying that it's something just Catholic, because the Protestants all adopted it after Martin Luther, 1500 and so forth. So any religion that you happen to be in, Christianity, it deals with this. So anyway, the tree is Nimrod's birthday. It represents him. The lighting of the candles, the Christmas lights all represent Nimrod. The mistletoe represents the god Tammuz, which is ridiculous also. And so we discussed all that. What else do I want to say? Now in Matthew 10:37 of the biblical text in the New Testament, it tells you you cannot love your mother and father or your children more than you love God. If you do, you're not worthy of God. I'm saying this because it's supposed to be a Christian holiday. We're trying to keep this historical. It's not theological, but since people call this the birthday of Christ, which it's not, and they represented this as a pagan holiday, which they did, then all those traditions are rooted in paganism, which is not of God. And it was designated by pagans themselves, the Roman emperors. So anyway, if you do these things, now I know people are going to say, well, I want to keep the kids happy. Giving gifts is harmless. You can give gifts any other day of the year, but don't do it on the pagan holiday. That is against God. You have to break these traditions if you believe in the biblical text. Now, for those who don't, that's fine, because it's just commercial holiday anyway. So for them, they can do what they want. But if you really love the Most High, if you really think you're following the Bible, you need to open it up and start researching what I'm talking about. Get the book, The Two Babylons, look up the Encyclopedia of Catholicism, and you'll see all of what I say is true. So anyway, we want to talk. We wanted to bring that out, and also in addition to that, there's a scripture in Job. I think it's 2:33, which also says the same thing, that you can't trim your beliefs in God for vain traditions, which aren't even of God. Lastly, I want to say that in Europe, in the country of the Netherlands, they still have the tradition of black peat. Some of y'all don't know what that is. Well, they don't have Santa's elves over there. Santa has black slaves. And if you don't believe me, you can look up black peat, Google it. There are documentaries made on it on CNN and other places. Black Pete is a slave that helps Santa Claus, and he takes the kids back to Spain to punish them if they weren't good. Why Spain? Because the Moors at that time ran Spain. The Christmas holiday only came a holiday in America in 1870, but in Netherlands it came a holiday in 1810. Even though Charles Dickens' book, Christmas Carol, the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, was written in 1843. So I want to say, research all of this. Don't celebrate Christmas. Stop the pagan traditions. And if you want to be of the Bible and of God, that's what you have to do. If not, good luck, because you're playing with your salvation. So we just wanted to bring all that out for our family. We don't really care about the other people, but for our family, we want them to do what's right. Please don't take my word for it. This is free information. You can research everything on your computer. Thanks a lot, and have a good day, and we'll talk to you again, family.
Okay, see, so historians, they do research and they bring you the truth. I know he does, because I've known him over 30 years.